by Riverside.
What's up, everybody? It's 2 o'clock. It's Monday. It's Bullpen. I'm Tony Mack. That's Tricky Ricky, and we got you for an hour until Wednesday, and then another one until Friday. And I guess I'm just going to go hungry until then. I mean, I want to bet this weekend, and I was supposed to have a healthy, hearty piece of food to eat for lunch, but Ricky decided, you know what? Whatever. I'm good. My feelings got so hurt this weekend that, you know what? Forget Tony Mack. Whatever, man. It's fine.
Look, dude, I'll get into what you're addressing in a little bit, but I mean, did anyone stink as much as me this past weekend? I mean, everything I picked and loved and it just blew up in my face. I'm trying to push it to the side. I'm looking at the YouTube thing right now. I don't even know if it's posting. I scheduled it for 2 o'clock. It's 2:02. I don't even know if anyone's seeing this right now. Do you know? I don't.
I see it up there. It's not live, though.
Oh, that's great.
Well, Lucas says we are.
He says we're good.
I don't know.
He says we're live.
Well,
he must be right. I got nothing on my end, buddy. Share me a link or something because I'm totally lost. But
there we are. We're good.
I mean, as far as losing goes,
we're good.
That falls right into how my week went. My Alabama Crimson Tide took a big old stinker on the road. I told you Tennessee was going to beat Georgia. They looked awful. And as a result, I was going to have to buy us a Dangerwich and order it with extra danger. And then I went to go to Subway, and I found out that the Dangerwich is not even on the menu anymore. The ads were so poorly received that they ripped it off of the menu. You can't even get a Dangerwich. So when I'm paying off my bet to show off how bad I am at picking sports, I can't even get the thing that I can't even buy a sandwich right now, man.
You picked so poorly this weekend that somehow I am the victim. I had to suffer. What is that? Oh no! Don't do that to yourself. Stop! Don't
stop it.
Don't do that.
Don't hide it. Don't touch it. Just let me have something, please. Just let me have something.
Oh no!
I thought I'd get away from this music someday.
Can't escape it.
Turns out I'll never get away from this music, Tony Mack. Because I'm a big freaking loser. I'm such a loser that I have to cut an L out of a Post-it note and stick it to my big, stupid, losing face. You see that?
Oh, I see it.
It ain't budging. Why? Because it's home. It's home in Loserville. Population, this putt's right here. I got a football team. I couldn't defend a ham sandwich. Dare I even say a Dangerwich if it were available at restaurants after October 21st.
I'd kill for a ham sandwich right now.
I would too, buddy. But guess what? Rickster took one of these.
Oh, you took a few, actually.
The only thing that gave me any comfort about losing was the fact that I was in Nashville this weekend, and I was surrounded by losers in orange shirts, who before I became a loser at around 10 o'clock that evening, they were losers by like 3:30 in the afternoon. And to watch each one of them crumble, and to look at the screen, and look at your phone, and then back up at the screen, and then back at your phone, and realize that both of them are portraying that you're rocking a big old L too. It's a tough place to be. I fed off their failure, and just hours later, I had me a big old spoonful of it myself. And now here I am for the second consecutive Alabama sports season, talking about how pathetic I am over this sad, royalty-free music that we downloaded off YouTube. Please don't bring us down, YouTube. We're not going to make any profits off this. But with the way my last few days are going, this stream's probably being ripped down as we speak. Back to you.
You know that thing on your head? I thought it looked familiar. That's what the LSU fans were holding up the game on Saturday night. Did you see that in the crowd?
There you go.
Thanks.
You dropped that.
So, to recap, why Ricky's so sad, why he's wearing the L on his head. Tennessee, we had a bet that Tennessee and Georgia, that I said Tennessee would win. Or no, you said Tennessee would win. Excuse me. I said Georgia would win and win big. And that's what happened. The bet on the line was he was going to have to buy me a Dangerwich with extra danger. Can't even do that because it got taken down before Halloween.
Yo, for real, I did look that up. The Subway pulled the Dangerwich, and reports were that it was because of the ads were so bad and so embarrassing that they were like, we got to get this off the market now. It got to a point where TMZ Sports reports that Subway got back into the discussion and said, look, we didn't take it off the menu because those commercials were so bad. We just have so many sandwiches on the menu right now. We need to shuffle some things around, kind of like how the Seattle Seahawks did with the quarterback position. They said, we got a good sandwich here, but we think we got better sandwiches that should be up in that starting lineup. So we're going to take this sandwich and we're going to take it off. We're going to put it on the bench. Little ironic if you consider how everything's gone for old Russ. His sandwich, it had the same kind of it fell in the same trap.
Sandwich is a backup. It's a backup sandwich.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Geno Smith sandwich is up there on Italian herbs and cheese, and it's selling like hotcakes, baby. There's footlongs going left and right.
That's what happens when you're a good football team.
Tough week for Russ, man. No danger left in our sandwiches.
Zero.
No danger.
Couldn't even get a taste of what a Dangerwich is like.
Mm-mm.
The Seahawks are 6-3, dude. They're 6-3 without Russell Wilson. Or the Broncos, and I think we're all winners at least in one way because the Broncos were off this week, so we didn't have to watch them play. But they're what? They're 3-4, something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, excuse me, 3-5. And the Seahawks are sitting here at 6-3. That is insane.
Yeah.
To think that the Seahawks without Russell Wilson, with Geno Smith replacing him, would be better than the Broncos with Russell Wilson. And remember, in the preseason, in the offseason, we talked about how the AFC West was going to be the best division in football by a wide margin. Like the Raiders were probably going to be the worst team in the division, which they are, and they would still probably be pushing for a playoff spot, maybe. But we were wrong. The best division in football is in the AFC, but it's not the AFC West. Kansas City Chiefs are 6-2. They beat the Titans in a really weird Sunday night football game last night. The Chargers are at 5-3, but the Broncos are 3-5. The Raiders are at 2-6. Meanwhile, there's another division in the AFC that has no team below 500. Every team is a winning team in the AFC East. You've got the Buffalo Bills at 6-2, leading the AFC. The New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins both in second place in the AFC. Not just the AFC East, but in the AFC. And then you got the New England Patriots, who are at 5-4. Winning record for every team in the AFC East. How about the Jets? Which is the more surprising 6-3 team? The Jets or the Seahawks?
Seahawks. Yeah, I mean, in the Jets.
They beat the Bills.
The Jets they've been piling up some talent. Salah's doing a good job. You can kind of see if they were going to do something this year, maybe Zach Wilson's going to be pretty good. Even Joe Flacco was good while he was injured to begin with. But the Seahawks, everybody was ready for them to stink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, number one pick.
True,
we're going to go get a quarterback at the end of the year. Drew Lock's going to have a horrible season. We weren't even looking at Geno Smith like he was going to play. Not only is he playing, he's playing really, really well. He's playing like that guy at West Virginia. That was a Heisman Trophy finalist for a little bit there.
Yeah, not the guy that got punched in the face by his own teammate, broke his jaw.
No.
But the one in college that was really good.
Yeah, no, that middle Geno Smith is a far cry from the one we're seeing now.
Without question, man. It is That's the NFL for you, though. It's very weird. It's very unpredictable. And then you've got another thing that's got the sports media crazy is that it doesn't matter what the sport is. Very good, right?
They did.
Well, in the NFL, luckily for them, you've got the Bills, who are like the only legit New York NFL team. If you're a Bills fan, that's what you're going to say. They're 6-2. The Jets are 6-3, and the Giants are 6-2.
Dude, Washington too. Old Taylor Heineke can go out there, play some horrible football for like 2 quarters, and then have a couple plays, put them in the position, and almost beat the Vikings, who are running away with that division right there. So Washington really needed that win, especially considering who's in there. But man, a lot of parity, dude.
I like the Vikings. I liked him in the preseason, and I like Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. I think he's not bad. I don't think he's as bad as everybody thinks he is. Until this very moment right now, knew that they were winning their division. I had no idea they were 7-1. Had no clue that they're 7-1.
That snuck up on me too. Yeah, I know, right? Guys, then I see videos after the game. Kirk Cousins has his shirt off and he's dancing. He's blinged out. He's like got 6-pack abs. I'm like, what's happening, dude?
You like that on 3? 1, 2, 3. You like that?
What world do I love? Like
everything I did in the locker room.
Everything I love, goes out there and disappoints me. Kirk Cousins, who I think stinks, is out there. He's like the coolest guy in the world. Like everything I knew and love has been flipped on its head, and I don't know what to think anymore. I turn on the TV and let the week of sports just blow me away, I guess.
Did you see that in the locker room afterwards?
No, but Red Zone played that clip like 100 times on Sunday. That little sound, they broke the button on the you like that.
You like that? In the locker room, they did that after the game. Instead of walking out and pointing at someone and saying that was their cheer. You like that on 3. So that's what they did. They got it done. And the Vikings are 7-0. They were down 10. They were down 10 points going into the fourth quarter in that game. Came back and won that. So, really weird NFL. The Titans, who had won 5 in a row, they were 5-2. They went into Kansas City last night, and with a quarterback tied behind their back, Malik Willis got his second start, and the Titans almost won that game. It took overtime for the Chiefs to come back and beat the Titans in Kansas City. That was insane.
Rough day for the double-digit point teams in the NFL. The Bills, they were 12-point favorites. Couldn't get it done. The Chiefs, they were 11 or they were close.
They were big.
Right around there, weren't they?
They were big, but they still won, but the Titans covered.
Can't cover that one. The Alabama Crimson Tide were a favorite too. They could
double-digit favorite.
Yeah. They couldn't quite cover it. The Georgia Bulldogs most definitely did though.
Oh yeah.
And those guys are going to win a championship again.
Dude, they might. I don't know anybody right now that I would bet on stopping them, but because of the wild weekend in college football, the fun part, when your team is out of the playoff race, the fun part started for all of those fans whose team is no longer in the playoff race. Chaos is now starting to happen, and the first leg of chaos is when Alabama gets eliminated from when you eliminate a team that's a perennial playoff team, and Clemson seemingly, even though they only have 1 loss, looks like they may have been eliminated too. You've got the most dominant 2 teams in the playoff era, possibly both eliminated on the same weekend with a whole month of college football left to play. Chaos is ensuing. Oh my. I'll give you a minute. I'm sorry. Did I go a little too hard on that?
A little bit.
I'm sorry. I wasn't meaning. I was just trying to get the facts out there. I was trying to,
It's a little harsh.
I didn't mean it that way.
It's a little harsh.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. We'll kill it. We'll go back. Hey, positive vibes only, dude. Positive vibes only. All right. I got nothing positive. I got nothing. Hey, Alabama's probably going to fire their coordinators. That'll be cool.
Hey, yeah, that's true.
Some change. What? A lot of people have trouble with change. Right now, I wouldn't mind a big old, foot long of change right now. Can't get a Dangerwich. Give me a change on honey oat if you don't mind. Cut that thing in the middle, toast the cheese, and deliver it right here.
I think it's coming. Bill O'Brien is it. The longer he stays at Alabama and more people get upset with him, I think that's hurting his stock in other jobs, other college football head coaching jobs, maybe getting back into the NFL. I saw
Indianapolis Colts fan. You guys ready?
The Colts job came open today. They fired Frank Reich,
You're
And
getting
then,
the chin, baby.
I was thinking
Getting the chin.
that was my first thought. I immediately thought when they announced it, Jim Irsay announced it on Twitter, and the first thing I thought was, wow, they're really going to get Bryce Young and Bill O'Brien next year. That's going to be nuts. But then, even though he has no NFL coaching experience at all, Jim Irsay announced the interim coach, Jeff Saturday.
It's the era of figureheads in sports. When you fire your coach, don't call up the special teams guy over there. What's that going to do? No one's going to have faith in that guy getting called up. We never even heard of him. Let's get a figurehead in here, Auburn, to get Cadillac Williams. He has no head coaching experience, right? I didn't even know he was coaching for Auburn until I heard that news.
He's been the running backs coach for a couple of years, I think.
But you put Cadillac in there. Everybody rallied behind Cadillac this week. You see him on the sideline. The players were rallying behind him. The fans were. Everybody was. It's the era of the figurehead. Colts fire their coach. Who do we get? Hey, what's Jeff Saturday doing? Remember him? He used to snap footballs to Peyton Manning. What's he doing? He's coaching a high school team. Yeah. What? Well, tell him. Well, we're going to get him a pay raise. Tell him to come on up here. He doesn't need the playbook. He doesn't even need a headset. We'll get him one that doesn't work. We'll get him a fake one. But I just want you out there. You know, maybe during warm-ups, you snap a couple balls. You know, maybe Peyton Manning comes on out there, does a little guest spot. We're just doing cameos at this point. The interim coaching position has been knocked down to a cameo.
Hey, man, if Matt Ryan wasn't already on the team, I'd say you could bring Peyton Manning in as the offensive coordinator for the rest of the year. But they might just go ahead and just promote Matt Ryan to that instead of letting him be the quarterback.
Poor Frank Reich. You know,
dude,
Frank Reich got a raw deal. Firing him doesn't feel right. I mean,
I agree. I don't think he's that bad of a coach, but look at the quarterbacks he was dealt.
I think it's amazing how good they were during the time after Andrew Luck retired. I mean, you got a franchise quarterback at 27 years old, or like right around that age, right there in the prime of his career. Out, I mean, weeks before a season starts. Then you're stuck with Jacoby Brissett, who's all right, but he's the guy you have when your original guy's not available. He's a backup. Then you move on and he gets, what was it, Phillip Rivers?
Phillip Rivers for
like
39
years old or something.
I think he played 2 years there.
End of his career, Phillip Rivers. They do all right, but no one ever thought the Colts were going to be a championship contender. But they still get the most out of those teams. I mean, those were 11, 12-win teams. They're pretty good.
Playoff teams.
Oh, yeah. Then you go to Carson Wentz
for a season,
which was almost a playoff team till you lose to Jacksonville last year on the final game of the season and find yourself, as you've been sitting in there in the playoff run all year, lose to the Jags at home, and you're ousted.
I don't feel too bad for Frank Reich there because I feel like he was probably one of the big, heavily influenced reasons why they got Carson Wentz in the first place, because Frank Reich
that's true
was his coordinator in Philly when he was so good. So
but then they gave up on him though. Then they said, "Look,
oh dude, a year.
We tried it. Let's get him out. We need something more stable." How about that guy that's been losing games in Atlanta? The old
for like
13
years.
The guy in his late 30s, like the other guy we used to, yeah, get him. He does exactly what you expect him to do. You know, he's throwing wobblers. There's no strength behind it. Not going to work. He gets hurt. Sam Ehlinger gets in there. We're back. I'm on my back. He got sacked like 14 times yesterday by the Patriots. They're not even competitive.
Get me started on
Jonathan Taylor's missed like the whole season so far, which was the bell cow for that team last year. Rough go of it for Frank Reich in Indianapolis.
I'm going to lose in fantasy football in the Trash Panda League this week because our Chris Felica, Aaron over there, had the Patriots team. Scored on me?
28, 30, something like that?
34.
Ooh,
34 points.
You need to borrow this?
A defense. A defense scored 34 points on me. You know, some people had Justin Fields score 40-something on them. Some people had Joe Mixon score 50-something on them. I mean, sure. Makes sense. I mean, that's still a lot of points for them, but they're good players. The Patriots, a defense, scored 34 points. 9 sacks. They got 8 points outright, so that's 17 right there. They had like a punt, a couple punt blocks, a touchdown. It was ridiculous.
You're coming back home.
It didn't want to stay stuck to my forehead. So, yeah, that was unbelievable to me. So they go to Jeff Saturday, and they're 3-5-1, trying to figure some stuff out and get back on the right track. Whether they do or not doesn't matter because the Titans already beat them twice. They don't have to play them again anymore. The Titans are still in the driver's seat in the AFC South, which is still mind-boggling to me that they almost beat Kansas City last night with no quarterback. No quarterback. The defense, and I said it coming into the year, that is a top 10 defense in the NFL. That defense is very good. You can look at the stats and say, whoa, Patrick Mahomes had almost 500 total yards of offense against you guys. He also threw the ball, and I kid you not, almost 70 times. That's not an exaggeration. He had almost 70 passing attempts. I am almost positive. That's without even looking it up. I don't even have to look it up to know that because I watched that game last night.
If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Patty Mahomes. They throw the ball a lot, though. That
he was
throws are kind of runs.
He was,
you know what I mean?
43 of 68 last night. Plus, he was.
But how many did he throw like this? We're going to like
a few.
How?
A few.
Yeah, those don't count.
He was sacked 4 times too, which means they called over 70 pass plays last night.
If this was
the fact that the Titans held them to 20 points,
if this was Sam Ehlinger and the Colts, I'd be like, that's a mistake.
What I'm saying is the Titans were able to hold almost 500 yards total offense for the Chiefs, and the Titans held them to 20 points. The Chiefs had the ball 41 minutes.
Yeah,
that's a good Titans defense.
Look at the difference in total yards.
Yeah,
499 to 229.
Titans had 57 passing yards. Look, Malik Willis had a couple of things not go his way. A couple of receivers dropped a couple of passes. That dude also stinks.
That's 2 more yards than last week.
Yeah,
that's an improvement.
He needs.
Look at Justin Fields, bro. That guy was throwing for 50 yards a game like 6 weeks ago.
I'm not saying that Malik Willis is always going to stink. He is a project. I've known that. But right now, Malik Willis stinks. And I'm glad the Titans did not waste a first-round pick on him. He was a 4th-round pick. It's a solid pick.
The guy played 2 games. Give him some time. He'll be all right. He played 2 games.
Dude,
Josh Allen stunk for 2 years.
We talked about some of the worst receiving rosters in the NFL in the preseason. That the Titans have to be on that list right now.
Yeah.
Cody Hollister played in that game a lot last night.
Where do they find Cody Hollister?
I don't know, dude. It wasn't a football field. I know that. That dude had a ball hit him in
Hollister store.
Dude, yeah, they may have. That dude hit his last name's not even Hollister. They didn't care enough to learn his last name. They just gave him a name where they found him.
That was just was a one of those customizable NFLshop.com jerseys that never got shipped out. We got this. Does he want to wear that? Whatever.
Yeah. No, he was god awful last night. Henry was good.
He was god awful.
He was terrible.
That Hollister kid's killing us.
He was. It's just the lack of talent on the offensive side of the ball, especially with the receivers. Offensive line for the Titans isn't good right now. It's a mess. It's not what my point in saying that is. It's not all Malik Willis' fault, but he's still a big work in progress too.
No, that offense has got to be. You've seen it. Young quarterbacks, you get them a weapon, they get better. Mm-hmm. Chicago Bears, not like Claypool went out there and had a monster week or anything, but they're starting to figure it out. They're building the offense around their quarterback who's got mobility. Ran for like 170 something yesterday. Threw for a ton. That Bears Dolphins game was an absolute shootout. So I think once you get Tannehill, they're going to have to move on from him at some point. But once they become ready for Malik Willis and they figure out an offense that works for him and then get people around him instead of trading people away, hey, Jay Brown, then you might have a chance. But, if you're trading your big-time wide receiver, what are you building for? You're not expecting to be good now, so let him take his time and figure it out.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that I think the Titans now understand. I think they probably understood in the offseason that Ryan Tannehill's not the direction they want to go, but that contract is the reason why they have to stick with him this year. That defense is a defense that can win a championship. They proved that in the playoffs last year. They sacked Joe Burrow 10 times in a playoff game, and the offense cost them that playoff game. So that's a defense 2 years in a row that's just doesn't deserve the pain their offense has put.
They got outgained by 270 yards and lost in overtime. That's insane.
I'm telling you, the defense was that frustrating for the Chiefs last night. They were that good on the field. Again, forget the total yards. The Chiefs ran how many plays? They ran 70 pass plays. So, of course they're going to get some yardage out of it, but it's unreal how good that defense is, the potential of that defense. And they're missing their top pass rusher. All year they've been missing Harold Landry, and they're still able to get home. So I'd love to see what the Titans continue to do. It's clear that Todd Downing's probably not the right offensive coordinator for them. Frank Reich, if you're looking for a job, if you don't want to be a head coach in the media, look, just go back to the coordinator role for a little bit. All right, just for a year or two.
He's already moving Bill O'Brien's stuff out of his office. He's already getting ready to go to Tuscaloosa to enter the rehab program.
Go be
He said, I've been working with old quarterbacks for the last 5 years. If I go to college, I know the guy won't be over 26. Give it to me. I need there now.
Go to Nashville, be the OC for a year or two, and benefit from Derrick Henry and then another quarterback or something. So I'll take that any day.
Troy By got to me on the text line. He goes, is Tony Mack ever going to wear a Trash Panda shirt, or is he just going to be dressed up like he's, I don't know. He said, where's the panda gear? What are we doing? Where's your panda gear? Where are you going? What is this? Okay, all right. All right, you don't need a shirt then.
I think we're well represented.
That's a good point. Something would have been nice, maybe a pin.
Yeah, okay. I got this. That bad boy count? It's got the panda on it.
Yeah.
Oh, how about that?
All right. We'll see. We're working on it. We've only been doing video for a few weeks. We'll get it down.
Oh,
get you a poncho out of the team store or something. Something with a panda on it.
So going back to the world of college football,
That's right.
All right, hold on. Let's go to the Twitter window then before we get into college football. Patrick says, is Antonio a probationary employee? No blue shirt till he's fully an employee. I wore a blue shirt. You saw me wear a blue shirt at the football game.
He's in his probationary blue button up. He signed a 10-day contract. We're going to evaluate, maybe sign another 10-day or after that. If we're not sure. The shirt's here though. It just hangs above his eye, like he almost has it. And one of our director of operations, Ken Clary's behind a wall with a fishing pole, and he just yanks it away from him. Everyone, oh, you almost got it. I'm
gonna have to wear that blue shirt for 6 months when April gets here. Why can't I dress up a little bit?
Put a patch on it. Give me something. Get a pen.
You give me something. I can't just because I work here materialize it. You have to provide it.
Be a brand man, company man, right here. See this? No one told me to wear that. No one told me to put that over my heart. It stays there. All right, I don't even think about it.
Is your heart that far over?
I think my mom. I think she might have drank. That's not what we're talking about, though, dude. That's not what we're talking about. The doctors did say I had an inverted rib cage. I don't know what that means, but these bones right here stick out further than they should.
Yeah, probably.
But that's not what I'm talking about. All right, I'm talking about this guy. This guy right here.
All right. Message heard. I'll wear a Trash Panda thing. Thought dressing up would be nice. I'm sorry.
It's all right. If I sneeze too hard, though, they did tell me that a rib it could go straight into my left ventricle.
So you have to hold yourself when you sneeze?
That's what a sneeze looks like. Yeah, I gotta keep my eyes open. I gotta focus. And I gotta hold it all together. Oh, it's bad.
Listen,
if I'm ever doing the wave at a sporting event, I got to sneeze at the same time. It's a near-death experience.
Mr. Fernandez, but seriously, if he closes his mouth while he sneezes, he will die.
Yeah. Oh, wait, here comes one. All good. We're straight. Holding it together.
So I was right in a big way in college football this week, and I was wrong in a big way too. I said LSU would win, or Alabama would beat LSU. I was wrong. But the big hot button game of the week was Tennessee, Georgia. It's Tennessee's year. Tennessee's the team.
Feels like 98.
98, baby. Nobody's going to stop that offense. Does that sound familiar? That's probably you, probably a work buddy that said that that nobody can stop this Tennessee offense. I disagreed. I said I thought the Georgia atmosphere I thought had a lot to do with my prediction. Going into that atmosphere when Georgia's knocked off the number one spot, Tennessee gets it. Georgia's been proven, even though they lost a ton of players to the NFL, they still had several dudes that was on that championship team last year still there. I thought they were battle tested. This is the biggest game in Sanford Stadium history, at least in my lifetime. They were going to show up, and that was going to be a problem for Tennessee. They would start out slow. However, their defense isn't good enough to really stop anybody. Georgia's offense is like one of the top 5 offenses in the country. I don't know if you knew that, but they're also up there.
I felt like an attack.
And I didn't know that until...
I felt like an aggressive statement towards...
Well, I didn't know that until the game had started. I just knew that Georgia's offense was good enough to score on Tennessee because their secondary is just not very good. And again, their secondary wasn't very good. And Georgia went on to beat the crap out of them. However, I will say, and I was right about that, I will say, though, on a neutral side, if Tennessee gets in as an at-large team in the college football playoff, which a lot would have to happen or some would have to happen, I think on a neutral site, Tennessee can beat Georgia after that first go round. I do.
It's been an interesting week because me and you have totally flip-flopped
Yep.
on what we think about with Georgia and Tennessee. I went into it thinking Tennessee was going to lose or Tennessee was going to win. I'm a loser. And after watching that game, I come out of it thinking, oh no, Georgia's dominant again.
Yeah.
And they're going to win a national championship.
Man, they look
like
good.
Ohio State. I watched them play Northwestern this week and struggle to get a win all game. Now, it was a very windy game. Ohio State likes to throw the ball. But you're playing in the Big Ten, and it's getting close to, we're in November. You're going to have to play some tough games in tough conditions. That just goes with it. Alabama's a joke. Clemson gets killed by Notre Dame. TCU's still undefeated. But I don't think by any means they can compete with Georgia. I mean, Georgia just lost their team captain with a torn whatever. He's out for the year. Nolan Smith, Gonzo. And they don't miss it at all. They made that Tennessee offense look like the Tennessee offense of the last 15 years, not this one. And they just immediately like that. Georgia has a way of clamping down on you to where not only do your plays not work, but you don't even you're afraid to do things. I've seen this when they played Arkansas last year. Like Arkansas was just content with not being hurt. Or we're just trying to get to the bus, baby. We just got to get out of here. That's exactly what happened with Tennessee. I mean, they didn't look anything like they had before. They're overthrowing balls. People aren't getting open. They're getting sacked. It's bad. I mean, Georgia is just oppressive.
They're Alabama of the last few years. Everybody's been trying to imitate Alabama, and Kirby Smart's finally done it. He's finally done it.
And meanwhile, Alabama, no identity.
None.
What are they good at?
We'll get to that in a minute. I know you had a rough week picking, but I wanted to pick your spirits up. Over here in the chat, I just wanted to let you know that there are free girls in our city.
I don't think those are real.
Well, they commented 3 times.
I
think
if you click on that, you might be wearing one of these.
I think both our computers will explode if I click.
You might have to go to the clinic too. I don't know. So
if you want to comment,
those links are not.
If you want to get in and chat with us, don't click the links that are in the comment section. But we're live on YouTube right now. You can comment. You can get in on the text window, 256-434.
I'm removing that right now.
1366. Ricky's taking them down.
How dare you?
NFL Insider's the one who told me about him. He said, did you see the bots in the chat?
Those started on the last stream. I noticed those. I deleted about 8.
I didn't even see them last time.
I don't know. What are we doing here?
Oh, no.
What are we doing, YouTube? What is this?
But
I thought bots were an issue on social media nowadays. We got to clamp down on this.
So now that Tennessee's out, or that Tennessee lost, they're still not out of it. Like them losing to Georgia was not, I mean, especially that fourth quarter, like being able to score and Georgia not scoring again, the score only being a 14-point game, that bodes well for Tennessee. Because while Georgia dominated them on the field, the farther away we get from that game and we just more so look at the score, it's not going to look as bad. It's not going to look as bad as Georgia-Oregon did at the beginning of the year, and Oregon's still kind of in the mix because of them their only loss being at the beginning of the year. So Tennessee moves to 5 in the AP poll, just 1 spot above Oregon, whose only loss also is to Georgia. But as of right now, you got Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, TCU 4 in a poll that doesn't matter. We're just trying to gauge off of what we might get in the college football playoff rankings tomorrow. What does Tennessee need in order to stay alive? Well, to add insult to injury, even though they just lost to Georgia, Tennessee needs Georgia to win out. They need Georgia to keep winning because if Georgia gets to the SEC championship game, whether it be most likely right now, it's going to be LSU. They get to the SEC championship game against LSU and they lose to LSU, then maybe you're only going to get one SEC team in. That SEC team is either going to be a 1-loss Georgia or a 2-loss LSU. Or if you get 2 SEC teams in, the one that gets left out is not going to be the SEC champion. We've never seen that. So LSU would get in. Georgia needs to keep winning in order to eliminate the SEC West. If Georgia goes undefeated, the SEC West is eliminated, and that paves way for one at-large team. If there is an at-large bid to be had, Tennessee is a front runner for that at-large spot. What would have to happen for them to get that at-large spot outside of the SEC would be either Ohio State or Michigan. Preferably, they're going to need one of them to drop a game before they play each other. TCU very, very well could lose to Texas this weekend or in a rematch to Texas in the Big 12 championship game or another Big 12 team and put them out of it. And then they would actually need like a UCLA to upset a USC or something along those lines. That way, whoever makes the Pac-12 championship game can beat Oregon. Oregon, USC, and UCLA are all going to need to lose again. And
For
USC,
Tennessee?
it's going to help because if you have a one-loss Pac-12 champion, we've seen the committee likes to take that championship element as an extra,
I feel like Tennessee doesn't need as much help as we thought going into the week because Alabama and Clemson lost.
Huge. Oh, that Clemson
that
loss
clears
is
out
massive.
not just two teams that were in it, but two teams that get the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
They get the tiebreaker all the time because it's Clemson and Alabama, and they've been so good lately. We go back to that poll real quick. Tennessee's at 5. Ohio State and Michigan are 2 and 3, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So one of them's going to lose a game. And if Georgia stays number 1, which I totally anticipate, Tennessee's going to have the best loss of either Michigan or Ohio State over Oregon, Tennessee and Oregon have a similar loss, and Oregon's wasn't even close. Plus, it was in a neutral field.
There you go.
So, look at that. If that clears out Michigan or Ohio State, Tennessee goes right up to 4. Doesn't really matter what happens to TCU at that point. Doesn't really matter what I think happens to Oregon unless they win the Pac-12. Then do you give them an extra vote because they're Pac-12 champ? But they lost to Georgia by 46.
Mm-hmm.
Neutral field when Tennessee only lost by 2 touchdowns at Georgia.
So you have 2 teams that lost to Georgia. One lost badly on a neutral site, one lost close at home, but one is a conference champion.
Right.
And even though the Tennessee's can't be a conference champion because Oregon benefits from not being in the same conference as Georgia, the committee loves conference champions to have that extra thing.
But I feel like when you have 2 teams, it's tough for Oregon. Like if they had not played Georgia to start if they'd get beat by, I don't know, but even if they still had a loss and it just wasn't Georgia who has a similar loss as Tennessee, I think they'd be fine. But you're really going to reward Oregon even if they are Pac-12 champs after they lost by 46 to Georgia on a neutral field? I feel like that's a hard one to overcome.
I don't know what the committee's going to do there. Let's see what the committee does tomorrow. That might go a long way in showing us because the Tennessee loss to Georgia is fresh. And Oregon's was at the beginning of the season. Now they both have 1 loss. Oregon's trending in a great direction. Bo Nix is like a leader for the Heisman Trophy. So let's see what the committee does with them tomorrow. If Oregon's already above Tennessee, Tennessee's in trouble because if Oregon wins out already being ranked above Tennessee, then Oregon's going to have the nod over, you would think. So
you would think.
Let's see what they do. What were they in the playoff rankings?
Oh, man. Bo Nix is tied 4th for the Heisman now, betting-wise.
How far back? So Oregon was at 8 last week in the playoff rankings. Alabama lost, so Oregon will jump at least to 7. Clemson lost. Do you think Oregon will probably jump over them as well? So Oregon can jump up at least to number 6. Where do they drop Tennessee? Do they drop Tennessee 5, Oregon 6 like the AP poll? Or is Oregon over Tennessee? I think that ranking right now is already going to tell us a lot about what we know about who's going to get the nod.
I feel like right now it's going to be Tennessee over Oregon.
I agree with you.
Be.
I agree. I completely
Especially with
agree.
how they ranked it last week.
Mm-hmm. And then Tennessee's got such a favorable schedule the rest of the way. Look, they've got the scraps of the SEC East left. They've got Missouri at South Carolina at Vanderbilt. They should win all 3 of those games running away.
No, for sure.
So still a lot to like there for Tennessee.
Is C.J. Stroud going to win a Heisman? In the lamest Heisman race we've ever had? It's like
he might.
It's like people are competing to not win the Heisman right now.
Yeah, he might. I don't know. He might.
Can the Heisman have a bye? We do a bye year?
That'd be nice.
Just give next year's winner 2 Heisman trophies? Can we give this year's to Reggie Bush?
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be classy.
That would be classy.
Everyone's making money in college football. Get Reggie his Heisman. It feels weird, like, for C.J. Stroud to be the Heisman winner, be like, oh, man, in his Heisman moment.
Yeah.
Like that run against Northwestern. Hendon Hooker, they just look so bad against Georgia. It's like, well, I guess he could make up for it later in the year, but those aren't big games. Corum, the running back from Michigan, just feels like it has no steam. And then Bo Nix is tied with Caleb Williams for the 4th favorite. It feels –
yeah.
Could you imagine? That would be so perfect with the way this year's going. Alabama's a mess. Clemson's down. Brian Kelly and LSU figure it out of nowhere. Tennessee was number 1 for a little bit, and Bo Nix wins the Heisman Trophy. Dig a hole and throw me in it.
What a slap in the face to Auburn fans that would be.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, man.
Bo Nix winning the Heisman. Speaking of Auburn fans, I apologize to any Auburn fan whose feelings I hurt by pulling for Auburn this weekend. Auburn was down 24-3 early in that game. And they rallied because their coach had their back. They rallied around themselves and their coach, and they came back and took a lead late in that game, 33-30, and then ended up losing and squandering that lead in overtime, and Mississippi State ends up beating them. And I felt bad I said another heartbreak for Auburn. I felt bad for them because of everything that was surrounding them. I thought they deserved a win there. And then I got told that, nobody deserves a win, but you just don't get it. What are you, some other twit that just box score watched? I'm like, no, I watched the game. That's why I feel bad for these kids. Like, I didn't mean anything mean by saying a heartbreak for Auburn. It is heartbreaking. Like, a lot of good came out of it. Like, you saw them rally around Cadillac. You saw the energy change. You saw the Auburn players, still pleased after the game because they just felt different. I get that. But because of all that, because of what they went through a week ago, because of how hard they fought to come back and take a lead in that game, I felt bad for the kids that they ended up not winning that game. How was that negative? I was told it was.
Hey, man, emotions are high, and those are your people too.
Oh my God. I'm telling you right now, if it wasn't for my wife being an Auburn fan, very loudly would I be pulling against them the rest of the way because of the way Auburn fans acted on the internet to me over the weekend. But I'm going to have to probably keep it to myself and pretend like I'm still pulling for them.
That's everybody though on the internet. The internet's not very nice. If you would have had a hot take about fabric softener, people would have got in there and yelled at you about it somehow. The Downey crowd.
But there wasn't it wasn't even a hot take. This was Auburn.
It's too harsh for your clothes.
This was Auburn fans coming at me for feeling like Auburn deserved to win the game, and I'm the bad guy for that. I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Welcome to Twitter.
But both Alabama schools lost in a close one in overtime.
No, I'm aware.
Over the weekend, Alabama went to Baton Rouge, and oh my gosh, do we know what size the wheelbarrow is that they had to order Brian Kelly to walk around campus this week?
Give me a break, dude.
What are you talking? If that had gone to second overtime, if he had just gone to second overtime, then both of you would have been required to go for two, and if Alabama had missed theirs, LSU would have had to have gone for it. The stones it took to call a timeout and still line up to go for two in overtime and actually get it, huge.
It's the only play in that situation. You got Alabama in. You need a win.
It's not like it was.
You're going to rely on an extra point just to keep it tied. No,
it's not like it's an unranked rival trying to beat it. Like an Auburn.
Two's not cool anymore. People go for two in the first quarter now. People go for two all the time. Going for two is not a big deal, especially at the end of the game, man. Come on. You're going to go to a 2-point conversion showdown anyways. I mean, you really just –
which is what made
he made one play call a play early.
Which is what made it so big because he didn't have to.
Yeah. It was a medium –
it was huge.
Medium call.
And there were some really weird plays and technicalities in that game that I thought were strange. The one – and I'm not saying get rid of it, but it felt very weird.
Latu.
Yeah, the fumble there too. The fumble that Alabama had, it's not like, so you see that on the kickoff sometimes. If there's a kickoff close to the out of bounds line, you've seen it in the NFL. A guy will put his foot out of bounds and touch the ball, and that's a penalty. He's taking advantage of the rule. That's a rule. That's one thing. But Latu didn't do this on purpose. You had two dudes fighting for a loose fumble that ended up staying Alabama's ball because Latu happened to be out of bounds. That just felt weird to me because you have two dudes trying to make a football play, and you're like saying, hey, we're going to take the football out of it. He had his foot out of bounds, so it stays Alabama ball. It was correctly called. It absolutely was correctly called. In a really weird, interesting spot, that was called. However, the tip pass that LSU had wasn't called a tip pass because it didn't really impact the ball, even though by rule he touched the football. They still ruled it a non-tip pass, and the penalty on LSU or whatever it was stood. Do you not remember that play? You're confused. LSU jumped up at the line to tip a ball from Alabama.
It was a late game.
You could see on the camera the dude's glove get bent back, his finger get bent back. It didn't impact the ball at all, but they went back to review it, and even the official, the review guy, was getting heat from the from Kirk and them. They were like, well, I mean, they were like, guys, come on, it didn't have an impact on the ball. And the replay official or the rules expert was like, that doesn't matter. That's still the rule. But they ended up ruling it no tip because it didn't impact the ball. If you're going to call the other one on a technicality, call the other one on a technicality. Call them both. That was weird to me.
I'll take your word for that second one. I do not remember that one, but my focus was all over the place. This Alabama team, what did I tell you about Alabama on the road? Alabama on the road cannot cover. They cannot function. Even at home, they have trouble just getting play calls in and not getting false starts, not doing what no discipline. The play calling comes in late. There's no identity. The defense is getting killed. Giving up a two. The rollout to the right 2-point conversion never works.
Ever.
It fails all the time. I saw it fail on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers ran it. One of the garbage. You flood everybody to one half of the field. It cuts off a half. You can't do nothing with it unless you're playing Alabama. Then that's the one time it works. Dude falls into the end zone on a medium gutsy call and wins the game. I mean, this one is I wasn't even like when Alabama lost to Tennessee, it was like, God, that was a game they should have won. Mm-hmm. But when you look at all the mistakes, you're like, you can't even be mad because you had no business even being in this game.
Yeah.
It's the same thing against LSU, except it's just like at least you put this team out of their misery, you know? Hey, Alabama, how are they gonna get in the playoff? Hey, well, there could be a rematch. SEC, there doesn't deserve to be a rematch. Alabama's not good this year. They're a middle of the pack SEC team this year. Tennessee's better. Georgia, man, still doing the game manager, still got running the ball, play action, getting the ball to the big tight ends, playing some hard-nosed defense, something people thought was extinct in college football. And Kirby still has the old Alabama look to him, you know, hard defense, play smart on offense and grind it out. Alabama doesn't have that. They can't block nobody. They got no discipline. The run game gets abandoned immediately. Receivers are dropping balls.
Woo! Want me to give you a quick positive about Alabama?
I guess
Bryce Young's really good at football.
Thank God Bryce Young's there. This team would be like 4-4.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what they would be
4-5.
What they would be without Bryce Young because
awful.
Look, and
did you see him with Milroe?
I'm not even going to say that Bryce Young was great that whole game. Bryce Young actually looked pretty bad a lot of it. This was a game where me and you on Friday, through 3 quarters, I'm sitting there thinking, I just sat there and said over and over again how good Bryce Young is, how he's going to be a lock for good in the NFL because he makes plays beyond his receivers not getting open and stuff like that, right? He doesn't have guys like Judy and Ruggs and those guys to bail him out and just go for 50, 60 yards after contact. He's actually out there making plays, and he couldn't get on the same page with anybody. But then when he needed it the most, he avoids 2 sacks and drops a dime for a touchdown late, gets the 2-point conversion. I mean, Bryce Young is amazing, and Alabama would be in such a bad spot without that dude.
It's a shame that he's being, just kind of wasted away on this team that, hey, they're going to Ole Miss this weekend.
Yeah.
That could be loss number 3.
Maybe. It may be.
And I mean, we came into the year, I thought people were going to be, they were going to have the stretcher out every game. Will Anderson, Dallas Turner are going to go out. Those guys are going to have 15 sacks apiece. I mean, these guys are going to be seeing ghosts back there.
Let me tell you this
they're getting pressured, but
let me tell you this right now.
Nowhere near the potential.
Alabama goes into Ole Miss and loses that game, even though it'll be their 3rd loss of the season.
Ooh,
if they lose that game, I don't think there's an amount of money that Auburn would not throw at Lane Kiffin after that game. That's the complete thing they're looking for, right? They're looking for a guy who can bring in a quarterback, can bring in transfers and recruit. Lane Kiffin can do all those things, but they also need a guy that can beat Alabama. If Lane Kiffin does that this weekend, even though it would be Alabama's 3rd loss, Auburn will throw every penny they have at that guy.
They're ripe for a loss, and they're facing a guy that knows them.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And a guy that a couple years ago with a team not as good as the one he has now scored a lot of points on that team. That was a national champion that beat everybody up.
Oh, yeah. That's
had a great
true,
showing.
yeah.
And then Lane plays himself last year, goes for like 5 4th downs in a row in the first half, does the whole popcorn line.
Get your popcorn ready, baby.
Never really had a chance.
Let's go.
From the start. But you let loss number 3 and a 3rd team rush the field on you after you lose. By the way, I saw a tweet too that said the Alabama dynasty isn't dead until teams stop rushing the field after they beat Alabama. I mean, did you see the security at LSU that just for the goalpost? They're like, these things ain't not ending up in the bayou. You're not ripping these out. But once people stop rushing the field on Alabama,
my
bad.
best friend was at that game and rushed the field.
Has a team had the field rushed on them 3 times? I don't think that's ever happened. Has a team ever had the field rushed on them twice?
Probably twice. I could see twice in one season.
I feel like it's a rare occurrence when like you rush the field on somebody. Like it's a big upset. Or I mean, that's it. Like, how often can you have a team that loses a game, gets rushed on, and then loses it again, and still is credible enough to get rushed the field again? It's going to happen a third time.
Yeah, it might.
You think Ole Miss ain't running on that field? It's like it's now like
if they win the game, it's absolutely.
It's like, oh, hey, did you guys rush the field against Bama? Yeah.
I'll say this though, LSU, lucky for them, they did have people guarding those goalposts because it wouldn't have been like Tennessee. If LSU beat them with Brian Kelly in the first year like they did, and they were able to get to those goalposts, they're not going to do something that would hide them, like throw them in the river. They're displaying them like on the interstate. That's going to be like holding up the exit sign on whatever interstate runs through Louisiana. They're putting those bad boys on display. So it's probably a good thing that they were able to hold them off. But what a win for Brian Kelly in his first year. Go back to our fantasy football draft down in the conference room. We were watching Florida State beat LSU and how bad they look. Kayshon Boutte couldn't catch a football. LSU goes down and finally shakes off rust and looks like they're going to win the game, misses an extra point. Brian Kelly comes in and it then looks like he makes a bad remark to the media the following day about being late to a press conference. Everything looked like, Brian Kelly might not make it the year. And here he is with only one more loss since then to Tennessee, and he beat Alabama in his first try
Say
at
what
LSU.
You want about Brian Kelly, but the guy gets results.
Again, as a person, he looks like he is not a dude you want to have a conversation with, but God, he is a good football coach. He's a good football coach.
He gets wins, man. He gets wins.
And I'm going to go back on one other thing that I said probably last year or maybe over the summer, and it's the debate about when is Nick Saban going to retire. All of these things, now that Alabama's lost 2 games, are surrounding the conversation, and it is you got more.
Sorry to cut your thought off right there. I'm deleting all of these find love with us comments.
I see people commenting, and then I see like water emojis.
No, you don't have to describe them. That's cool.
But for a while, I've been like you. I've agreed with you that Nick Saban's going to go through his contract extension to 2028, 2029 or whatever. He feels like he has a lot of football left. I am starting to feel a little differently, and it's not because they lost. It's why they may have lost. People are speculating all different things about why Nick Saban and Alabama have lost the games that they've lost, considering all the talent they have. This is a team that was talented enough that looked like they could have been the most talented team in football history, like you predicted in the preseason. However, they've lost 2 games with 2 top 3 picks in the NFL draft potentially, and Bryce Young and Will Anderson. How is that possible? Well, people are speculating that it's the gap is closing with other schools. NIL money is making it to where players aren't as hungry anymore. Now, Nick Saban's not changing his standard, but are other players not being held to his standard because of NIL money and the pressures there? If any of, I'm not saying it's true, but if any of those things are true, Nick Saban will not be in football much longer. He won't.
Let's not go crazy.
He won't. He will retire if that's the case.
Look, man, look at Pete Golding before the year racking up that DUI that no one really talked about. I mean, you look at the team, and he's talked about how, the consistency isn't there. Last year, they complained about the leadership. It doesn't look like this team has leadership right now. And when your coach is out there getting a DUI before the season, that's something you're worried about your quarterback or your players doing or something like that. Not the defensive coordinator at Alabama. You could be racking up a Dewey a month before the season starts. And then you got Bill O'Brien on the other side, the guy who gets ousted from Houston. All of his players want to punch him in the face. You got dudes that are not – not perfect for that situation, and look at where it's at. It seems like Nick Saban is screaming at everybody, not just players, but players and coaches and every single person in that locker room. He's having to try to figure it out, and you could even say that's a fault of Saban's. I mean, look at a guy like Brian Dable with the Giants, totally turning them around. People are worried about the New York Giants in college or in pro football. Dable spent 1 year at Alabama and said, nope. Took an equal job, took a coordinator job when he left, went to the Bills. They were awesome. Now he's a head coach there. But you can't hold on to good coaches if you're going to. I mean, Lane Kiffin, same way. Get me out of here. I can't be hanging out with that guy. He treats me like I'm a little kid. I don't know, man. It is definitely the start of what will be a different era at Alabama. I don't think the dynasty's over, any of that stuff. I mean, they're still loaded, but they've got some things they got to address, man.
For sure. I'm looking at the comments over here, and Charles has gotten into a bunch of them. I don't think I've ever disagreed with Charles as much as I do right now.
Interesting.
He says, he's talking about the 2-point conversion. He says, I don't view it as that brave. LSU had a lot less to lose than Alabama. Pressure was all on the Tide. Now, sure, like I'm not debating that, but that's still because if you take the extra point there, you go into double overtime, and you score, you have to go for 2. And then Alabama would also have to go for 2. So for the chances of both teams getting the 2-point conversion to go their way in second overtime is a lot less. So a lot of people would have taken the opportunity, even in this situation, a top 10 team to kick the extra point and say, well, we feel confident that we'll get the 2-point conversion to double overtime, and we feel confident that we'll stop Alabama from getting it the second time. That does make it a little gutsier to do it, because in the next overtime that the other team would have to go for 2-2, and you probably feel confident that you could stop them. But Brian Kelly still went for it. Then he said, if they didn't get the 2-point conversion, are we still saying he had big cojones? Nah. Yeah, we are. We're probably just calling him dumb because they didn't get it. But yeah, get it or no, that's still gutsy to go for the win there. Still very gutsy. And Alabama had a lot less to lose, sure. But there's still pressure on LSU. They were a top 10 team at home.
I don't think it's gutsy either.
LSU wins that game. They still have a ton to go their way. LSU now winning that game, again, agree that there was more pressure on Alabama, a lot more to lose. I'd actually maybe not. There was a little more to lose. Alabama lost the playoff on that. LSU may already be eliminated, but they still have an outside shot at it. But the SEC West was on the line. LSU took the SEC West. They still had a lot to play for. So don't act like this was just a game that LSU didn't have anything to play for. They're a top 10 team playing for their division. I think the toughest division in football.
I think it was a smart move, though.
It was a smart
move. I mean, the best player on the field is Bryce Young. You don't want to give the ball back to him. If you can end it right there without him having a say in it, then you do it. You got to go for 2.
What NFL Insider says, I was saying this to my wife when we were watching the game. He said he even called a timeout and still went for 2. That's what's gutsy. And I agree with that, because you went out there and lined him up to see what Alabama would do. And then he calls a timeout. And you're thinking, okay, here comes the extra point. He was just trying to see what kind of matchup he could get, if he can get Nick to feel a little uneasy, but called a timeout and still lined up and went for it. That absolutely was gutsy. It was gutsy whether he got it or not. Now, the reason why we're
gutsier by calling a timeout.
Do what?
How does it make it gutsier by calling a timeout and still going for it?
Because you called a timeout and Nick Saban was able to see what you did, or that you might go for it, and was able to
go the other way, though. You can kind of see what they're doing.
Well, yeah, that helps. It absolutely helps. I mean, it's still beneficial, but you call a timeout. Like if you just run out there to go for 2, you either Alabama's going to have to burn their timeout, or they just have to go out there and hope in a situation where you should be kicking an extra point, they get lined up correctly. Instead, when you call a timeout, they have a better chance at lining up correctly.
Alabama does?
Yes. They have a better chance.
They don't know what's coming.
If they call a timeout, they know that if LSU calls a timeout, Alabama has way more time to think about it, talk about it. If they're going for 2, this is what we switch to. Absolutely.
I don't know. If I'm the offense, I go line up there and I look and I go, okay, looks like we're playing man. Let's do that. Okay, timeout.
But maybe not necessarily in that situation, because that was an extra point situation. LSU went out there, instead of to kick an extra point, they lined up for 2.
That's what I'm saying.
Alabama wasn't really lined up. LSU's not going to really see what they're running, because Alabama was kind of out there in desperation. They didn't run out there like it's a third down. Maybe had special teams in their mind on that play.
I don't know, man. I mean, it was the right call, and it worked. That's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I still think I would be calling it gutsy had he missed it. I just wouldn't be talking about it as highly if he had missed it. It does go both ways there. So, here we go. Still plenty to talk about as the week goes on, because we're going to we still get the World Series that ended. We were both wrong there too. We did
L is still on the forehead.
We did a draft a couple Fridays ago, and it was about we had to do a top 5 players that aren't in a professional sports Hall of Fame, and it was a draft, so we couldn't have the same players on our team. So we had 10 different players. We only between us had 3 baseball players. All 3 of those baseball players now have another chance to make the Hall of Fame, 2 of which I thought were off for good, and the other one was going into his last year on the ballot. So we'll talk more about that on Wednesday. as well. We'll continue to look at college football. The playoff rankings will come out tomorrow, and we'll keep you posted with what we have going here at Toyota Field. We're the entire field is sand right now, so you can walk through this entire process with us as we rebuild our baseball field for the 2023 season. As we have more events coming up, we'll continue to plug those as well and keep you guys informed on those, including now less than 2 weeks away, 11 days away, our Christmas light show, November 18th. It's a Friday, right? It starts out here. You got a mile and a half of Christmas lights, and until Christmas Eve, when that light show is over, you can park your car, come in here to the Winter Wonderland.
Winter Wonderland.
But the Winter Wonderland ends December 24th. The light show goes until New Year's Day.
Yep. It's up and going right in time for that week before Thanksgiving. So if you got any family in town, you want to show them, what's cool around here, the light show's where it's at, over a mile and a half of lights. I believe this is year number 3 of the light show, and it's fantastic, man. It really is great. It's a great route. The music plays in your car, and it's in sync with all the lights. If you got family or friends, or if you just want to take, if you just want a night out, go check out some lights, feel the Christmas spirit. This is a great one. So trashpandaschristmas.com if you want to grab some tickets or check out the program we got going there, and all the, see when Santa's going to be here and see all the different little promos that are set up. Like I said, man, it's the 18th through January 1st. So we got a lot of Christmas going on here at Toyota Field. That is a big one, man. I'm going to hear a lot of Kelly Clarkson over the next 2 months. And it's something I've been mentally preparing myself for. Like I said, third year. I've heard a lot of Kelly Clarkson. And that one song with Gwen Stefani was, oh, my gosh. I hear him in my sleep.
Play a lot of that Mariah Carey song.
Oh, yeah. All the hits. Yeah. And
Michael Bublé, his Christmas album.
Woo.
It's a lot of play.
Y'all like Bublé? You're getting to be Bublé season, man. Get the Bublé out. Get it ready.
And even though we're getting ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas, just a reminder to everybody out there that likes to come to Trash Panda games in 2023, if you are looking for getting into a suite again this year, like maybe you did a group outing, you got in a single suite or a concourse suite or a party deck or something like that, and you're thinking, we'll start looking at those in January, February, March, closer to the baseball season, those are going quick. I'm going to tell you right now, we anticipate our single suite level up here and the concourse suites to be sold out by Christmas. So
you couldn't even book them during the year last year.
Exactly. So they're going to be gone pretty quick. If you want to make sure that you can get a group outing in one of those, I'm trying to give you a heads up right here, an extra place for you to learn more information. I'll keep you guys posted on those. But here's your first warning. If you want a suite for next season, to rent a suite for a single game, let me or Ricky know. Hit up the text window, 256-434-1366, and go ahead and start that conversation now so we can get you in one, because here in a couple of months when you guys start reaching out, we're going to have to tell you we don't have any more available. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure you can get in these. So let us know if you want to get in one of those. We'll continue to remind you about that as well.
Let's end the show with a video.
What we got? Oh, we got a video?
The man, the myth, the press conference legend, Mike Leach. Mississippi State.
I bet he said something silly, didn't he?
I don't even know what the question was. I just saw this clip and was like,
what did he talk about? Like, did he talk about Thanksgiving food again?
I don't even know if you could classify this as talking.
Halloween candy?
Just take it in right here. Let's see what we got here. This is Mike Leach, head coach of Mississippi State, answering a question.
I didn't even get to event that, and then all of a sudden, well, they're kicking it off. And then I'm working on this trademark cough. What do you think? It's getting better too. Well, then we marched it downfield. I thought we could have been closer, and then he made.
That was just unpleasant. What was that? I think I just caught something.
Hey, Coach, I got a follow-up question. It's not even for you. It's for anybody else. Do we have like a swab? Can we test you for COVID, the flu? Anything?
I'm about to pour some of that emergency powder into the USB drive of my computer. I think I just caught a computer virus, but I think I got it the old school way.
You want to know the difference between Mike Leach at Mississippi State and Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss?
Yeah.
If Lane Kiffin had did that in a press conference, he'd have a cough drop sponsorship today. Halls would already be sponsoring.
I think my keyboard needs one. I think it has strep throat. That was disgusting.
Afterwards, actually, the cough's getting better, but
I don't even know if that was like if he was joking around when he first started. I think that man just has a sinus infection, and then. Have you ever like been talking to someone and you tried to clear your throat but you didn't quite get it? You need to do it again, but you don't want to look like that guy that's especially nowadays. No, when you cough for someone, get the kids. He's coughing. I've been in that situation where you don't clear it enough, but you're like, I'm going to power through, and
I've got it now. We got to.
You look like that.
Oh God!
Can you stop?
I'm trying. I think I'm actually.
All right. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the show.
None of those are fake, by the way.
You take care of yourself there. What?
Before we go,
you got words?
Yeah, I got words. I reached into my pocket and I realized something. We need a new item in the gift shop.
What?
Right here, baby. Trash Panda pacifiers.
What?
Get a little sprocket right here. You got baby stuff down there.
Do you just carry that on you?
This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's after lunch.
Are you gonna pop that in?
No. I dropped my kid off to daycare today, and I didn't realize until lunch. I went digging for my keys, and I pulled that out of my pocket. I'm like, wait, what the?
Dad stuff right there.
So I've been dadding really hard this weekend.
Yeah, man.
Hardcore dad stuff.
Remember back in the day when you reach in your pocket after doing something, you find something cool in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you pull your clothes out of the dryer, you find like an extra $5 you forgot you left in
all
there.
Right.
Now you're like, crap! I think I ruined another one. Dude, my wife ruined one of his toys. She was sanitizing everything because she and he had both been sick this weekend, and she put like the little teething keys in the sanitizer, the bottle sanitizer, and it melted them. They all melted together.
What are you spraying the kid down with? Sulfuric acid?
No,
What are you sanitizing with?
It's like a little thing you put in there to sanitize. Like it's a steamer. It like steams and.
Did you put that stuff in the barrel that Walter White used to get rid of bodies in Breaking Bad?
I didn't do anything. She put it in there. She pulled him out. She was like, "Oh, hey, he was. I think he's starting to teeth. So like his cheeks will get real red, and he starts slobbering real bad. And he starts chewing on his hands.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh wait, I think I got his keys to sanitize him." She pulled him out. She goes, "Oh wait, never mind. Don't worry about it. Mommy messed up." I'm like, wait, what mommy do? What?
Mommy accidentally dropped his jingle keys into a vat of hydrochloric acid. What are you gonna do? First time parents were figuring it out.
Oh man.
Yeah, maybe go for the alcohol-free solution next time.
Yeah, I may have to.
Maybe the Johnson no tears.
Mm-hmm.
You're not washing his hair out with like Halvoline, are you?
No.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah. Stay away from that.
All right. That's going to do it today. We'll be back Wednesday, 2:00 right here. Until then, I'm Tricky. That's Tricky Ricky. I'm Tony Mack. It's the Bullpen.
There you go, Tricky Ricky.